What's up, nerds? Welcome back. I want to show you Vanlife the Great.
Out here with the squad, everybody tryna go, yeah, the party jumping off, hey, we putting on a show, tryna catch a vibe, we do this every time, like, feeling like I'm
Okay, so you see so many Vanlifers who get these massive Mercedes Sprinters or brand new Ford Transit, and that's a cool way to go, but I'm not Moneybags McGillicuddy, so I decided to keep the cost down a little bit on this, partially because I still really like having an actual home office. After a month on the road, being on assignment, working long days, I love to come home to an actual bed and an actual shower. So I needed to keep this cost down because I'm still paying rent on an apartment. So I went with a 2008 Ford E350 Super Duty. It comes with a turtle shell on it, which is actually kind of an expansion. This used to be an old ski shuttle. When I first got it, it had tons of glass windows, bench seats inside. It was actually a pretty cool rig for driving like 75 friends to go get lunch, but not a super functional place to live and work. The cool thing is, since it was a ski shuttle, it has the Quigley 4x4 adaptation with a 4-inch lift kit. So it's actually kind of a big off-road hoss, which is really cool. I have the option to put it in 2-wheel drive for highways and throw it into 4-high or 4-low for really gnarly terrain. And I love the fact that it's a Super Duty. I've got a big, strong engine in here, and I feel capable going anywhere. One of the things about this being an old ski shuttle is that everything was glass on it. There was a ton of windows. This door was glass. And obviously for security purposes, that wasn't a great idea. So the first thing we did was cut these out and replace them with 6061 hard anodized aluminum and then hit it with a powder coat. So as the guys at Boho like to joke, this thing is polar bear proof. All right, so this is actually probably my favorite part of Vanlife is that we have a little key to open this side door, but you have to twist it to close in order for the door to open. And then you turn it to open for the door to close. And I like to think of that as my own personal security feature. Okay, come on in, take your shoes off. People live here. So the interior of this van was converted by Boho Vans out of Tempe, Arizona. I can't recommend them enough. Brett and David have actually become like good friends of mine during the process of this build. Super accommodating, and I had kind of a weird laundry list of things that I needed in order to make this a functional photography studio on the road. And in addition to making this just like one of the most beautiful kind of log cabin style interiors, they accommodated all of my requests. First off, it is heavily insulated. As you know, I photograph polar bears. I go to Alaska. I love cold environments. And so we have this burly Dickinson heater, 6 inches of insulation on all the walls. It's a little bit more cramped in here than it could have been for the size of the turtle shell on this body, but I wanted to sacrifice a little bit of the volume internally in order to stay warm in the cold climates and cool in the hot climates. Another thing I really wanted was some decent counter space. This isn't a massive van because it's not my full-time house, and I wanted it to be maneuverable off-road. So this is a little bit of an auxiliary countertop over here, but you can see that we also have, you know, a little bit of prep space here. We have a 2-burner propane stove, a sink with a built-in cutting board, strainer in there. There is a water pump, so we do have running water. Just hit this button, and we have flowing water. These are all just like beautiful butcher block countertops. And the sink just drains straight into this gray water tank. All I have to do is just kind of pull it out and empty it when it gets full. We use only biodegradable soap. This is our dish soap, hand soap, face soap, shampoo, body wash. Drinking water. No, I'm just kidding about that one. So we use only biodegradable soaps because that allows us to dump these in any, camp toilet, or if we're super off grid, just dig a hole. It is fully biodegradable, which makes a real ease of use for us. We don't have to find an RV dump station every time we want to empty our gray water tank. So under the stove, we have a dedicated propane tank, which I really like. We also have a trash can and a little dustpan because cleanliness is next to godliness, and I'm nothing if not a man god. So we have a dedicated propane tank for keeping our stove running. And something I really, really like is that we also have a dedicated propane tank under this cabinet for the heater. And that allows us to sort of dictate the structure of how we use our resources, which I really enjoy that flexibility. So if we're somewhere cold and we run our heater too hard and this tank runs out, we can borrow the one after we're done cooking dinner and keep our heater running all night so that we're safe. But if we're somewhere hot like we are right now and we cook too much and run out this tank, we're not going to be using the heater because it's 95 degrees out, so we can take that propane tank. And that means that we're never actually empty like we would be if we only had a single tank. We always have a backup, and I love that flexibility. I realize I keep saying we, but I haven't actually introduced this beautiful lady holding the camera. Here, give me this really quick. Okay, here we go. There she is, Miss Autumn Schrock. She's the second half to this van duo. Photographer extraordinaire. Pops is her name around the internet. I'll link it below. You guys know who she is. So continuing on with our tour, let's get to some of the important cool things. First of all, we have our mask brigade here because, you know, you're not allowed to breathe on people anymore. So I love over the cab, we have a bunch of cool storage space here. So you push the little lock to open it, and that's where we keep our toiletries. It's great. Got our toothbrushes and everything. We got some wipes, AKA the almost shower. Patent pending. Also over here, we have some nice access to the fuses, which is really cool. Those are all the original fuses because this was a ski shuttle for the power door and everything. But it's cool that they're so accessible. Another thing that Boho did really well that I love is just smart, sneaky storage space. So like this looks like it's just kind of a nothing piece of wood in the wall, but when you pull it out, it's actually a full sliding pantry, which is so cool. So I've got all my like hot sauces and my Cajun spices. And then we have a whole assortment of really awesome like freeze-dried foods. These are from Packet Gourmet. I'm obsessed with them. They're the best camp food I've ever had. And Packet Gourmet also sells all these like, you know, diced bell peppers, just dehydrated. So it's kind of like having like 10 whole bell peppers with me, but all I have to do is add some water. So that's kind of a fun way to keep things interesting while cooking on the road without doing a ton of storage. We do have a full Dometic fridge in here. You can see it's full of the important things: tortillas, green chili, and then cherries, grapes, produce. We got some milk here, condiments. We've been making a lot of wraps and sandwiches and stuff like that. Above the sink, we have just more storage, of course. These are cups and bowls and plates and a little tiny ramekin for sauces because I'm a fancy, fancy man. We have, you know, pot and pan, keep everything kind of light. There's not room to do a ton of fancy cooking. So we got some cereal, paper towels, chips. To be honest, we'll probably get a little bit more intense with the organization as things go on, but the van's new. We literally picked it up a couple weeks ago and have just been in it since then. So I haven't really had time to fully dive into organization. Down here we have a little bit of a combination everything drawer / silverware. So forks, spoons, knives, spatula, some other cooking utensils, silverware, knives, sanitizer wipes, napkins. You know the drill. It's all the standard kitchen stuff. So on the opposite side of the silverware drawer under the heater, we have another junk drawer. Basically, it's just more storage. This is kind of our catch-all. Everyone's got that junk drawer in their kitchen, right? You don't have a place to put everything. So that's this one here. It's got some small stuff, like we have a light for recording videos. You've seen that in my What's in the Bag video. We have some extra rags. We have a first aid kit for, you know, just safety's sake. We've got sunscreen, bug spray, cooler cloth. We got some laundry detergent. Believe it or not, we are disgusting hippies, but we also do like to clean our clothes occasionally. And then the most important part, I think, is this Garmin InReach. And this is indispensable. I pay for a monthly service, so I have satellite texting capability. So if we're super off grid and something breaks down in the engine, or I get a flat tire and I can't fix it in some way. I do have a spare tire, but say something goes wrong, I can actually text AAA and have somebody dispatched for assistance, or I can text a family member my location and have them come get me, something like that. Okay, switch me positions. This has been Dancing with Nate. Now that you've seen the kitchen area, I'd like to show you the home office. Obviously, the home part is the bed here. Not really going to give you a full tour. It's a memory foam mattress. It has a blanket on it. It's like a lot of beds you've seen. Cool. The office part's pretty cool. We have this whole storage area under the bed. That's where our camera bags are, of course. Off to the right here, we have a little 2.5 gallon hot water heater, which is sort of like on-demand water. It heats up so fast. We've been in the desert. It's been 95 degrees, so I haven't really used that much, but overall, it's pretty cool. And then down here on the left side, if you want to get on in there, we have the inverter, which is awesome. So it takes the 300 watts of solar power off the roof and converts it into charging all of our batteries. There's 2 plugs on it, 2 standard outlets and 2 USB plugs. And in the back, you can see we have a little cassette toilet. It's for number 1 only. Number 2 goes elsewhere, whether that be in a Wendy's or an outhouse. Moving on from that, the actual office part is pretty cool. So we sit down at these little chairs, and then out comes a full desk. This is a nice 1-inch butcher block, so it can be used as additional counter space for preparing food, but we've been using it primarily to sit here, and we can both, Autumn and I, can sit across from each other, open our laptops, and get work done. This is like truly an office space on the road, which I love. We both have outlets, you can see down here. There's an outlet and 2 USBs on both sides, which is great, so we can plug in our laptops, plug in our external hard drives, and we can sit here and edit photos, edit videos, send emails, write blogs, everything. That was one of my main concerns when getting the van, was that I can't just like take off on a 3-week road trip and be on vacation, because for me, road trips are work trips, and I needed to be able to like bring my office with me. And I think it's really cool the way that Boho laid this out in a way that works for my needs. And since storage is one of the most important parts of the van life experience, under each of our seats is additional storage. You just lift these up, and you can see I have like my charging cables, my drone, some lenses. Don't get too close there, lady. You're giving away all my secrets. There's another one on that side for more stuff. You can show as much of that as you want. It's your stuff. It's also worth mentioning this under bed storage area. That's not our only access point. Super clever. We can access it from both the head and the foot of the bed, which is really nice. Makes it a little bit easier to not always be on your hands and knees putting stuff under there. And then, of course, over the bed, we have a little cubby for some clothes storage there. And then at the foot of the bed, we have another cabinet, which is pretty cool. These are all just little like Eagle Creek packing cubes. We're kind of sticklers for organization. So we got, like pants and shirts, and then underwear and socks and some warm clothes. Keeps everything nice and organized when you only have like a little tiny cabinet to store your stuff in. One of the cooler things, like more specific to being a photographer, that I requested was these pure white LED runners. They're controlled by this on-off switch, but it's also a dimmer knob. And so if you've ever calibrated your screen, you know that the light intensity and the light temperature is super important for getting your colors correct on your screen. And so I requested these 95 CRM pure white LEDs. So I know that my editing color when I need to turn the lights on is exactly true natural white every single time. And that's a super important thing for me. And I can dim the intensity so that if it's later at night, I'm not sitting here in like a glowing cafeteria trying to figure out what screen brightness is correct. I can dial everything to exactly where I want it to keep my editing consistent, even in changing locations. Okay, let's go back outside. There's a couple other little features I want to show you that are pretty cool about the van, and that'll be just about it. We got to open the door. We have this old relic from the original ski shuttle days over here, so I opened the van with this switch. So inside I mentioned a bunch of different outlets and plugs and everything. That power has to come from somewhere, and thankfully on the roof we have 3 100-watt solar panels. So somewhere like Utah here, where it's always blasting sun on us, we're generating 250 to the full 300-watt capacity at any given time. Even with both of our 87-watt MacBook Pros plugged in, all 4 of our camera batteries, our drones, etc., we're actually still generating more power than we're consuming, which is really cool. Now, once we're back home in Seattle, of course, things might be a little bit different. But the cool thing is, if you look under here, we have a full battery bank. There's 3 full car batteries. I wanted to go with the lithium ion option because they charge a little faster and hold a little bit more power, but they don't work as well in low temperatures. And as I mentioned, that's actually a pretty serious concern of mine, taking this into cold climates. So we went with the standard car batteries. They charge off the solar panels, but they also charge off of the alternator in our engine. So anytime that the car is idling, we're going to be recharging those batteries as well. We do have a battery isolator, which is nice. So if we go too hard, we're parked for 3 days and we drain these back 3 batteries, they won't be pulling power from the engine battery, so I'll still be able to start my engine. But conversely, it is kind of a fun two-way switch that I can flip. So if I drain my engine battery, I can open up this battery isolator and use the solar panels to jumpstart my engine. It's another way that we're never like truly stranded on the road, and it makes it really comfortable to go into these backwoods scenarios and keep the car parked for several days while we execute a photo shoot. And so over on this side, we have a 25-gallon water tank. And this is how we fill it. You just kind of unscrew this cap. We have a little hose that connects to any faucet, and we can fill it up that way. And then one of my favorite features, when we run that water pump inside, we have a little portable shower on the road. It's not the most glamorous shower in the world. Of course, anybody can see you, but if you're in some backwoods parking area and you put on a swimsuit, it's a really nice way. You can take a hot shower standing in the sun. It's actually a really beautiful way to stay clean. There's ways around it, of course. If you really want showers frequently, you can get a gym membership. Somewhere like 24 Hour Fitness has some 1,000-something locations around the country. There's one in every major city. It's an easy way for $20 a month to have a hot shower all the time. But this is a cool way. We've been off the grid for 4 or 5 days. We just go drive down some back road, take a quick shower, and we feel fresh and clean. All right, everybody, thank you so much for coming along on this tour of Vandolph the Great. I am Nate in the Wild. Check out all of the social links below if you want to see some more interior photos, some of our adventures. You can follow along with all of that. Please click like, comment, subscribe, tell all your friends, and thank you all so much for being here. I'll see you next time, and don't forget, Black Lives Matter. I got everything and there's no trouble on me today. Stuck in Vegas and I'm all I can say. Also, hold on. There is some desert on that thing.